This is Mark Belton, SuperTraining Gym, the strongest gym in the West, coming to you from Slingshot World Headquarters. Just coming back from FitCon out in Utah. I want to thank Rob and Dana Lynn Bailey and The Muscle for inviting me out there. Had a great time, was out there with my wifey, and I ran into a lot of fans. Appreciate all the support. People are super positive. People are super excited about this YouTube channel and about our podcast. Coming up on our podcast, we have Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday is somebody that teaches a lot about Stoicism, and I've been talking about that quite a bit on this channel. So appreciate all the fans and appreciate you guys giving me feedback. You know, when I meet you people in person, it's amazing to hear the feedback. There was a couple individuals that this weekend got emotional when they had the opportunity to meet me and had the opportunity to kind of tell me their story and share their story. And you know, a bunch of them said, well, I feel kind of silly or I feel kind of dumb saying this, but you know, you really had a great impact. I can never hear that too much. I'm grateful and thankful that I'm even in a position to be able to speak to people, to be able to help people, and if you're finding this information helpful, then that's fantastic. What drives me forward is the audience, you know, is you guys. So anyway, I'm gonna get to this. I appreciate all the support. We're gonna talk today about cravings, because I know that cravings are kind of the root cause. They're the root of all evil, is these cravings that we have for food, and it's the thing that is most likely going to knock us off of our diet. In a previous video, I talked about different dialogue with yourself about your diet and about whether you're on it or off it. Remember, this whole thing, everything is part of this mission. Everything is part of this journey, and attainment and getting to the actual physique that you want, or getting to the actual lifts that you want, the performances you actually want. Once you actually get there, you're not going to be any happier than you are right now. Actually, I would say that along your way and along your journey is probably when you're going to be the happiest, because you're going to be learning and you're going to continue to gain more information about yourself and about what it takes to get yourself to that next level. And there's nothing more exciting than that, because there's nothing more exciting about progress. Going from wherever it is you currently are to wherever you're trying to end up. And I've never met one person in my life that doesn't possess the ability to make progress, the ability to be a little bit better than you were yesterday or the week before. I never met one person that doesn't possess the ability to get stronger. I never met one person that doesn't possess the ability to be leaner. I never met one person that doesn't possess the ability to just be a little bit better. So here we go. Here's how we're going to knock out cravings. Here are the top 10 ways that I think that you can knock out cravings. Number one is through protein leveraging. Protein leveraging just really means taking your percentage of protein that you would normally eat and just trying to jack it up. Let's say that normally you eat 15% protein, which is part of the standard American diet, and I hope that's not the diet that you're following. The standard American diet is comprised of 12 to 15% of protein, but people need at least double that, and I think it would be great for you guys to experiment and to work on trying to add more protein to your diet. Where do you start? You know, when you add more protein, where do you start? How do you not completely kill your stomach by eating tons and tons of protein? Well, you just want to start out small, just like you would on anything else. Starting a business, starting anything that you're going to start, you want to always kind of start out with, how do I figure out a way just to move forward? How do I figure out a way to have incremental progress? So all you're going to do, just add a little bit of protein to what you normally eat in a given day. Let's say that you've never written it out before, and let's say over the next couple days that you decide to track your calories and track your food and track your macros, and it turns out that you eat 100 grams of protein every day. Well, don't go to 300 grams of protein, because that would probably hurt your stomach, and it'd probably be different for you, and it might be too much. It might bite off more than you can chew, so to speak. So instead of doing that, let's just up your protein. Let's maybe add 30 grams of protein or 50 grams of protein, and that's how we're going to get there. Currently, I try to eat about 400 grams of protein. I would say that most days I probably fall short of that. I'm probably in the 300 to 350 range, and that still supplies me with plenty of food to be as big and as jacked and as tan as I feel is necessary for me at the moment. By eating more protein, you're going to drive down your hunger. You're going to drive down your cravings. So you need to find things that have a higher percentage of protein. For me personally, what I've done is I have been jacking up and you're gonna see me get really, really lean over the next couple days, over the next couple weeks, melting off the fat over here because I'm utilizing protein leveraging to its extreme, and I've also slashed out a lot of fat from my diet as well. More on that some other time, but I'm gonna move on to number 2 for killing cravings would be intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting. How can intermittent fasting help kill cravings? Well, intermittent fasting will help kill cravings, in my opinion, by helping you to gain control over your diet, to gain more self-awareness with how often you eat, how much you eat. Once you start to explore some intermittent fasting, you will say to yourself, oh my God, I am a fat fuck. Because you're gonna recognize how much you tend to overeat. Everything about our day is so much surrounded and relies so much on food. And I mean, think about your family interactions and think about your interactions with your friends. There's always calories involved. Even when we go to see a movie and we should be plenty entertained by going to see a film, we have to have calories in order to accompany the movie, right? We're gonna eat popcorn, have a pretzel, eat a hot dog, drink a big soda that has a bunch of calories in it, a bunch of sugar in it. Even when we watch TV at home, it's accompanied with calories, right? And we shouldn't really need these things. And by intermittent fasting, you will teach yourself that you don't need nearly as much food as you think. And so I think that intermittent fasting also will kind of burn off in some way. It will burn off some of that hunger hormone. And I think what's behind cravings is an actual hunger for protein. And so that goes back to protein leveraging. But utilizing intermittent fasting and protein leveraging combined, when you get to the end of the day, I would like you guys to try this. I'd like you guys to try the Mark Smelly Bell diet. So you can just simply try this. Try to eat at 1, try to eat at 4, and eat again at 7. 1, 4, and 7. Eat at 1 o'clock, eat at 4 o'clock, eat at 7 p.m. If your schedule is different than mine, adjust accordingly. But try to get 3 meals in and try to have them be fairly close to each other, and try to have those 3 meals be very high in protein. Let's just do, try to do 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight and kind of see how that ends up. It's gonna be tough. All I can say to you is good luck. And if you try to drive down, or just, shouldn't say drive down, if you try to select meats that are lean, it will actually make that much harder, but it will also keep your calories in check. So if you go with 3 ribeyes, that would still be a challenge. It still wouldn't be super easy to eat all those ribeyes. And I know you're probably laughing. Some of you guys that are bigger right now are probably like, oh yeah, it would be easy for me. I'll eat that, no problem. It might be easy on day 1, but day 2 and day 3, it'll start to get really, really difficult. But without that amount of fat, it'll actually be very hard. So if you start to pick leaner cuts of meat, a top sirloin, a New York strip, some of these kinds of things, I know a bunch of you are chirping about price. Get yourself some chicken breast, get yourself, buy stuff that's on sale. You don't have to only eat meat that's lean, but it's suggested because it'll really just help kind of melt body fat away, because the overall amount of calories that you're having is less. And that brings on number 3, which is a carnivore sin, would be eating vegetables. But any form of fiber is going to be an assistance into helping us drive down hunger, because it's going to provide bulk and it's going to give us some substance. It can help aid in digestion. It can help give us phytonutrients, micronutrients. And in addition to all that, you might just enjoy eating vegetables. And I have found that if I was to eat something like zucchini with some chicken breast, if the chicken breast is kind of chopped up, you got the kind of moisture of the zucchini or of whatever vegetables that you utilized, and it makes eating the chicken breast just that much easier. So vegetables can assist with making things a little easier to eat. Sometimes even just some pico de gallo, some salsa, can really go a long way. I know some people might be carb conscious, but look, there's not going to be a ton of carbs in there, and if the first ingredient isn't sugar in whatever it is that you're using, you should be kind of good to go. But be conscious of that. Pay attention, make sure that there's not a ton of sugar, because there's sugar kind of like in almost everything. Sauces would be another thing that I wouldn't recommend. I don't use sauces. I don't use barbecue sauce. I don't use ketchup. But if you could do so in a modest way, I don't have any problem with that, because eating some of this sweeter stuff, teriyaki sauce and some of these things, it can help make it much easier to eat it. And because it makes it a little easier to eat it, maybe you do get the protein that you need for that day. Because some people just don't really enjoy protein, or some people, they might not even love animal protein so much. But drive that fiber up, and you're going to start to see that you're going to be more full, a little easier. I would also say, kind of on the same token, that there's certain foods that are just kind of difficult to eat. And they kind of require a lot of your body to eat them. A potato, I think, is a great example of this. A baked potato with just some salt on it. Maybe what I've done to kind of soften them up and make them a little easier to eat is I'll pour some bone broth on them, and that will kind of soften them up, give them some flavor. It might sound weird to you, but it works well for me, and it tastes really good. And it's, potato is only so big, so it's not going to give you too much food. Next thing we got on our list here, diet drinks, 0-calorie type of stuff, Jell-O and electrolytes. So what I mean by this is you got things like Coke Zero, you got Sprite Zero. I think now they're called Zero Sugar is actually kind of their more official name. They changed the name a little bit. I will have Jell-O sometimes at night because Jell-O has like 10 calories. I do realize that we are talking about a category of artificial sweeteners that might not vibe with everybody. Some people get really upset about sucralose and some of these other things. If that's not your style and you don't want to partake in that, then you can get a product called Zevia, which I believe is just made with stevia and monk fruit. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the case. I know it doesn't have any artificial sweeteners. If you still want to, try to stay away from some of that stuff, something else I found to be effective is just some Pellegrino. Get some sparkling water, maybe squeeze a little lemon in there to make it a little more flavorful, to give it a little bit extra. But hydration in general is a big part of this, and it's something that I'll bring up again, as we bring this thing to a close. But diet drinks, 0-calorie type stuff. One of the reasons why I think they assist with cravings is because it's going to hit some of those pleasure thresholds that you have in your brain. It's going to kind of hit some of those things that get you excited about these sweet, candy and things that are sweet rather than things that are savory, because we spend a lot of time eating protein, we spend a lot of time eating vegetables, and we're not really getting that pop that we're looking for. And you can do so by trying to get in some of these drinks. You also may find fruit to be of value, because fruit now is going to hit some of those pleasure sensors that we have in our brain, but it's also going to provide you fiber, but it will also provide some sugar, so you might just want to be a little conscious of how much fruit, but I think it's kind of impossible to eat too much fruit. The next thing to kill cravings, number 5, and I think this is actually one of the strongest things that you can do, and that's to lift some weights, to exercise. I'm talking about a real workout. A real workout will really drive down hunger, and it will really drive down cravings quite a bit, and it just occupies your time. You may have heard me in the past talk about occupy your mind. Sometimes life is just simply about occupying your mind so that you don't think about your thoughts and sit around and get yourself sad, depressed, and anxious over things. But if you're somebody that continues to do stuff all day, you're most likely going to feel good about yourself because you are accomplishing things. And so this is 2 and 3 and 4-fold. This will help propel you forward a ton. Gaining more muscle mass over a period of time is going to actually, in a sense, make you more hungry, because it will require your body to utilize more energy, but it's still going to be a net positive because you're going to have enough muscle mass to where it's the positives are outweighing any of the negative effects of that. So exercise in some way, something beyond just walking. Number 6 to kill cravings is walking itself. You can go on a 10-minute walk, 20-minute walk, 1-hour walk, whatever length of walk is kind of up to you. I personally do a lot of 10-minute walks throughout the day. I try to walk in the morning, I try to walk mid-afternoon, and I try to walk a little bit later in the evening. It just depends on how my day is, how things shape up. I may walk for 2 hours straight, but it just really kind of depends on the day. So walking is something that can occupy your time, it can occupy your mind, and I found it to be really helpful and beneficial from a meditative perspective as well. And it can be something that, for me, it's helped me to hone in and focus in on my goals. Just another opportunity to not be walking around with calories in your hand, So if you're gonna have a coffee on your walk, coffee is another thing that can help us. So that leads us into number 7, is coffee. or hot drinks of some kind, coffee, tea. This kind of falls in that category of the 0-calorie stuff, 0-calorie drinks, but I just was reminded that coffee is really useful as well. So now as we move down, we're getting into number 8 and just hobbies in general. Any sort of hobby that you have is another thing that can occupy your mind. It can occupy your time. We're just trying to get through the day because we're freaking hungry. Especially if you're coming from being fat, all you can think about all day is food. I still think about food all day long, and so for me, I have to fast through basically the first half, almost first 3/4 of the day in order for me to get my food right and in order for me to land on the proper amount of calories that I need for me to build muscle mass, but yet also continue to burn fat and continue to get leaner. It's a very, very tough thing to do, and it takes many, many years. I've been lifting for 30 years. I've been lifting for 3 decades. And so I want you guys to really take this stuff to heart that I'm communicating with you. And I'd love for you to start to implement these things, but also just understand it's going to be a long process. It's going to take you a long time. And that's okay. That's all part of the journey. It's okay if it takes you 2 years. It's okay if it takes you 5 years. The last time that I weighed 330 pounds, or even just weighed over 300 pounds, was a decade ago. And I now weigh 230 pounds. I'm 100 pounds removed from that, right? But I'll still go up and down here and there, and I still make tons of mistakes. I'll get out of shape. For me, I'll get out of shape. But I made an agreement with myself. And that agreement was that I'll never weigh over 250 again. And so I haven't even been over 250 in probably 5 or 6 years. What agreement are you going to make to yourself as you continue to drop body fat, as you continue to drop weight? And how are you going to utilize these principles that I'm sharing with you today in order to help kill your cravings? Number 9 is protein shakes. So protein shakes are still calories, you're still eating something, right? But I found that protein shakes can really help against cravings because they taste really good. They taste great. A lot of the protein shakes from, of nowadays are pretty good. When I was a kid, trying to suck down a protein shake was pretty bad. So protein shakes can be great. I've used them for many, many years, especially at night. If you are worried and concerned that it will spike your insulin levels and make you fat, I don't think, because there is some evidence that some of the faster acting proteins can do that a little bit. You can simply offset that by mixing it with a little bit of milk, maybe a little bit of milk and a little bit of egg whites you can throw in there, or you can simply buy protein powders that are kind of a mix or kind of a blend that have multiple types of protein in there. My protein that I sell is Slingshot protein. It's hydrolyzed whey protein. Tastes really good. I think you guys would enjoy it a lot. And if you wanted to slow down its absorption, you just mix in a little bit of milk. It could be whatever kind of milk that you like to drink. I would recommend that you put in there. I sometimes will even blend these things up with fruit. I do that for my kids quite a bit because they like smoothies, so I'll mix the vanilla with some strawberries or some banana or something like that. And anyway, the point of the shake is that the calories are going to be fairly low. They'll be fairly moderate, so you want to make sure that whatever you add to the protein shake isn't really spiking the calories through the roof, unless your goal is to gain weight, which we'll have to shoot a specific video for you about gaining weight. But having protein shakes can really, really be helpful because you are eating a lot of protein and not a lot of calories. Bone broth. You guys hear me talk all the time about boner broth. Boner broth can be really, really valuable. Boner broth can be great because it's going to give you collagen. It's going to give you glycine. Just having something hot in your stomach. It takes a little while to drink it or to sip it or however you have it. But if you have something hot, it might take you over the course of 3 minutes. And in that course of 3 minutes that you're drinking the bone broth, you're going to be kind of filling your stomach up with something. And there is a small amount of calories in there, but from what I recall, it's like 10 grams of protein and there's 0 fat. And there's like 1 or 2 grams of carbohydrates. I think it's like 50 calories or 70 calories. I personally use Epic bone broth most of the time, and I get the beef jalapeno one. I like that a lot. There's another company called Kettle Fire. Kettle Fire is really good. This is all stuff you can get off of Amazon. Last on the list here, but not to be forgotten, is the usage of cookbooks. You want to demolish some cravings, get some good cookbooks. There's so many different ways to cook food. There's so many different people on YouTube, Pinterest, different forms of social media that show you how to cook. And if you personally learn how to cook, then it's that much easier to make yourself a healthy pizza, or that much easier to make yourself a healthy snack or healthy treat that is low in caloric value. Lastly, let's not forget about the treat that I always make for myself, which is I mix up Slingshot protein into yogurt. You guys have seen me do that so many times. On this channel, I shared the recipe, and people are always like, share the recipe, but there's not really a recipe. It's yogurt and it's Slingshot protein, and I take the Slingshot protein and I dump it right into the yogurt, or dump it right into the bowl that the yogurt is in, and I just mix it with a spoon. Now, when you go to try this, you're gonna be like, oh my God, Mark Bell is so full of shit. He sold me on his protein. He sold me on another product. And you're gonna look at it and you're gonna be like, it's not working, but you have to keep stirring. Don't give up. You gotta keep going. It might take a little while, it might take a minute. And so with that, you can get fat-free yogurt. I usually get Fage yogurt is what it's called, F-A-G-E, Fage yogurt. I think that's how you're supposed to say it. I usually get the non-fat one or the 2% one, and I'll mix in like 2 scoops of Slingshot protein. So there's 60 grams of protein just coming from the Slingshot protein. And then on top of that, you got like whatever's in the yogurt. So it might have 80 grams of protein, 90 grams of protein, which I think is great. So there you have it. I gave you guys a bunch of ideas. I gave you guys a bunch of concepts. I gave you guys a bunch of information on how you can knock back those cravings. And just remember, cravings are probably coming from an emotional point of view. They're probably coming from a place of emotion, more so than anything else. Can you stop that emotion? Can you have equanimity when it comes to that? Remember I shared that word with you guys? Can you have an even mind about it? Can you be undisturbed by some of the things that are going on around you? You can work on these things and you can build your willpower, and even from just your willpower, you can draw upon the ability to escape some of these foods. Another thing I'm gonna have to suggest here is I would treat this very seriously, and I would take this advice very seriously. If you really struggle with food, I feel that I'm doing pretty good with food nowadays, so I don't feel like I really have to do this, but I still do it on occasion. I would suggest anytime a commercial comes on TV that has food on it, I would pretend that they're showing you the most horrific surgery ever, or they're showing you, somebody being lit on fire or something crazy. Pretend you're being shown something wild, and don't even look at the screen. Just look straight down. Don't even look at it. Don't expose yourself to it. You don't need to know the new shit that they have at Taco Bell. You don't need to know that they have new popcorn at the movie theaters. By the way, they have new popcorn at the movie theaters. Sorry. I had to drop that on you. But they got Cheeto popcorn. I didn't have it, but it looked amazing. But see, it's those little things that sit in your head all the time, and subconsciously they're always there. And when you drive by that McDonald's sign, when you see that commercial, when you hear Mark Bell talking about Cheeto popcorn, you're going to be screwed. So try your best to turn yourself away from it. Anyone that's a foodie, try to boot them out of your life. Any foodies that are on Instagram and some of these different things that you're following because you love seeing the donuts that they post, you just don't need that at this stage in your life. You know, it'd be like a crack addict still hanging out with the same friends, right? And you just, maybe you can do it, but probably not, right? So try to distance yourself from that kind of stuff as much as you can. And last but not least, this is something that everything always boils down to. You are a byproduct of some of the people that you hang around with. So try to get around some like-minded people, or they don't have to necessarily eat the same way as you. They don't maybe have to be a fitness freak. They don't have to pull out their Tupperware everywhere they go. And I don't think that you need to either to get your results, because I never have. I don't do that. I don't prescribe to carrying around Tupperware with me everywhere I go. But the people that are around you, they should understand that you are a goal-oriented person and that you really do want to move forward and you want to be in better shape. And so when you tell somebody, oh, yeah, I'm on this diet, and so sorry I can't eat the pasta that you guys made, but I can eat the chicken that you made with the pasta or whatever it is. And those people that are going to laugh at you and those people that are going to like make fun of that, there's nothing admirable in getting worse every day. There's nothing admirable in just getting fatter and not ever addressing it. There's nothing admirable about sitting around and getting drunk and getting shit-faced every single day. There's nothing cool about it. You probably heard this in high school. You heard people talk about drugs aren't cool. Try not to think drugs are cool because all the kids think drugs are cool. Same thing as an adult. I think that we lose some of that. I think what's cool is self-improvement. What's cool is making progress. What's cool is feeling really good about yourself. I want to know in the comments below, what are some things that have helped you guys kill cravings? What are some things, what are some rules, what are some things that you followed that really helped you stick to a plan? And also, what are some things that really throw you off? Why are you getting deterred from your task? What is it that's pulling you away? What is it that's pulling you away? Because I can help you with it. And maybe some of the other people on here can help you as well. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch y'all later.